Good, bright and beautiful morning, everyone. I am here to read to you another chapter from the wonderful book, Kitchen Table Wisdom. And this one is called Beyond Perfection. And this one, even though it's only 3 pages, it is just ripe with such beautiful, beautiful messages. And I might be reading some sections very slowly, and I'm going to treat them like a very fine wine or a delicacy, something that you want to just keep inside you for a moment and just enjoy and just sit with it for a moment. So just a little heads up on that. Okay, here we go. Beyond perfection. Wholeness lies beyond perfection. Perfection is only an idea. For most experts and many of the rest of us, it has become a life goal. The pursuit of perfection may actually be dangerous to your health. The type A personality, for whom perfectionism is a way of life, is associated with heart disease. Perfectionism can break your heart and all the hearts around you. Just absorb that for a minute. A perfectionist sees life as if it were one of those little pictures that used to appear in the newspapers over the caption, "What's wrong with this picture?" If you looked at the picture carefully, you would see that the table only had 3 legs, or the house had no door. I remember the aha moment that these pictures evoked in me as a child. I wonder now why anyone would want to take such satisfaction in seeing what is missing, what is wrong, what is broken. The pursuit of perfection has become a major addiction of our time. Fortunately, perfectionism is learned. No one is born a perfectionist, which is why it is possible to recover. I am a recovering perfectionist. Before I began recovering, I experienced that I and everyone else was always falling short, that who we were and what we did was never quite good enough. I sat in judgment on life itself. Hear this. Perfectionism is the belief that life is broken. Sometimes perfectionists have had a parent who is a perfectionist, someone who awarded approval on the basis of performance and achievement. Children can learn early that they are loved for what they do and not simply for who they are. To a perfectionistic parent, what you do never seems as good as what you might do if you tried just a little harder. The life of such children can become a constant striving to earn love. Of course, love is never earned. It is a grace we give to one another. Anything we need to earn is only approval. Few perfectionists can tell the difference between love and approval. Perfectionism is so widespread in this culture that we actually have had to invent another word for love. Unconditional love, we say. Yet all love is unconditional. Anything else is just approval. The pursuit of perfection is built into every professional training. But long before I went to medical school, I was trained as a perfectionist by my father. As a child, when I brought home a 98 on an exam, he invariably responded, "What happened to the other 2 points?" I adored my dad, and my whole childhood was focused on the pursuit of the other 2 points. By the time I was in my 20s, I had become as much a perfectionist as he. It was no longer necessary for him to ask me about those 2 points. I had taken that over for myself. See this generational curse? It was many years before I found out that those points didn't matter, that they are not the secret to living a life worth remembering, that they don't make you lovable or whole. Life offers us many teachers and many teachings. One of mine was David, who was an artist and my first love, the living proof that opposites attract. While we were together, my driver's license came up for renewal, and I needed to take a written test of the traffic laws. The DMV had sent a little booklet. I studied it for days. All the while I was memorizing the meaning of the white curb and the yellow curb. David would try to persuade me to join him for a walk, or go to a party, or out to dinner, or dancing, or even just to sit and talk. I told him I couldn't take the time. Of course, I got 100% on the test. Triumphant, I rushed into his studio shouting that I had gotten 100% on my driving test. David looked up from his painting with an expression of great tenderness. "My love," he said, "why would you want to do that?" It was not the response I had expected. Suddenly, I understood that I had sacrificed a great deal to get 100 on a test that I had only needed to pass in order to drive. I had spent days studying for it that I could have spent in much wiser ways. I had learned many things that I did not even want to know. It had felt as if I had no choice. If my father could not approve of me with anything less than 100, I could not approve of myself with less than 100 either. Even on a written driving test, like most addicts, I was out of control. It was clearly not about driving. It was not even about grades. It was about needing to deserve love. Fortunately, David did not play by these rules. He didn't even know the game. Isn't that so beautiful? And first of all, she's just a killer writer, so I'm very thankful that I stumbled upon this book. But after reading this and rereading it just now to all of you, I have some thoughts about it that I just want to share. So first of all, the word love and then saying unconditional love, that really is kind of silly, isn't it? But anyways, I learned this a long time ago from a Buddhist monk, Bhante Sujathe from Blue Lotus Temple in Woodstock, Illinois. But anyways, he had shared with our class, it was a loving kindness meditation class, and he had shared with us how the English language is one of the only languages that only has one word to express love. He said how in many other languages you have a different use of a word like love to express the love that you would have for your spouse versus the love you would have for a pet versus the love you would have for a possession, like this necklace. I love this necklace. And in English, we say love for everything. And, you have to kind of wonder if over time that has watered down the meaning. Because if I say that I love this necklace and I say I love my husband, well, that's clearly not the same. So I just wanted to pass that on because I think that's quite interesting. So maybe be very mindful of the words that we do use, especially when we say the word love. The other thing I want to say is I think we all in life, we don't want to do anything half-assed. If you're going to do it, you do it and you do it right. And I definitely agree with that. But I also think part of doing something right is also doing something right for your soul and for you, and putting yourself into the equation to know when to say, okay, enough is enough. Because quite honestly, the things that we strive to make perfect, absolutely nobody is going to know other than us. So why are we putting all that time and energy into it, especially when that robs us of being able to spend time with a loved one or anything like that? That's actually quite silly when you look at it that way. And then that whole 98% example, thank goodness, being a perfectionist did not run in my bloodline. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for that. But we all know a gazillion people that do have that, and they're perfectionists, themselves today. And the one thing I always think about with that is that 98% example. You see my cat in the background? Hi, Henry. Anyways, the 98% example, it is, like in 5 weeks or 5 months or even 5 years from now, does it really matter that you got a 98% on a test? Is that something you wear like as a badge of honor? No, you don't. Passing that test served that purpose. And once that purpose is served, you just move on and you forget about it. I actually wrote, and I'm certain I wrote this blog after reading this book. I guarantee it. I should go look at the date. But if you're interested in you're just reading a little bit more about this, I actually wrote a blog probably in 2017. It's called Perfectionism Can Kiss My Ass. And it really talks about this. And I think it's a little bit entertaining, I hope. So I highly encourage you to check that out. So my website is ConnieJoHolmes.com, and then just go to my blog section, and you might have to scroll a little bit, but it's called Perfectionism Can Kiss My Ass. And I highly encourage you to read it because it was kind of fun. But I guess my closing remark with this is just, the perfectionism we do to ourselves. And so, and it's really some made up finish line. It's some arbitrary number or some dream or thought we have in our head that we created. So if there's a way that we can continue to give our absolute all and best to every single thing we do, but also to remember that part of giving your best is to give the best to yourself and to your family, and not let your striving to be perfect take away from the moments that you have before you. So I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure what chapter I'm going to read yet tomorrow, but it'll be a good one, I promise. And I hope this was helpful. And I guess in closing, because I'm trying to tie me reading this book into our current situation of the coronavirus and stuff like that. So if people are taking this opportunity, this collective lull time, to maybe make some life improvements and things like that, definitely do that for certain. But also, do your absolute best, but do not, knock yourself out by striving for perfection. Do not do that. Because oftentimes they say, when you're striving for perfection, you don't get the job done. And that's then an epic failure. Even if you get it done perfectly, if you get it done 2 months late, well, it's not perfect because it was past due. So anyways, think about that as you're kind of doing what you're doing during this time. I wish everyone well, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.